to WCEG Network, and welcome to the show, Conversation in Education. As you may have noticed, the fine young gentleman who runs this show, Mr. Vincent Cheeks, is not presently here, but my name is Dr. Charles Powell, and he asked me to make a very important, very special announcement about a program, a production that's coming up this Thursday, October the 19th. So, as I stated, my name is Dr. Charles Powell, and I was born to Albert Powell and Emma Store, and I'm originally from Gum Ridge, Mississippi. I graduated in 1906 from the Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, and stayed at Shaw to attend Leonard Medical College. I graduated in 1910 and became a surgeon at Fairhaven Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. That's just a little bit of my story. If you'd like to hear more, please join us Thursday, October the 19th, and come out to Oakland Cemetery and view the production Capturing the Spirit of Oakland. I, along with several other residents of the cemetery, will be actively participating and sharing our story with the community. It is a family-friendly event, so please come out and join us from 5 to 11, Thursday through Sunday, for the next 2 weekends. And with that, I'm going to turn the show over back to Mr. Vincent L. Cheeks. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And just like that, I take off my glasses and I'm Superman again. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations in Education. Thank you, Dr. Powell, for opening the show for me. We just want to make sure that we get a lot of participation for this upcoming show. It's historical, it's educational, and it's just overall important for the community. You'll learn a lot of fun facts, so come check it out. I hope you got your tickets already because they're selling out fast. And with that, we're going to move right into our show. You are listening to WCEG Network on WCEG Talk Radio. You can watch us live on your smart TV under YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I am Vincent Cheeks, the show host of Conversations in Education for the next hour. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe to our free YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like, follow, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. We're on new platforms. Oh, I lost my announcement. We are on new platforms such as Roku, and we also have 100 channels now that you can rent from us to get your production on the air. So please check us out. And last but not least, the thoughts, views, and opinions are those of the show host and the guests, and not of WCEG Network. Again, thank you for tuning in. Now, let me introduce to you my fabulous guest. He is a WCEG host of Issues and Answers, which airs Mondays at 4 p.m. He's a former military. Thank you for your service, sir. He's a former police officer of almost 30 years. He has 18 years of hospitality experience. So that means as a former cop, he can be tough, but as a former hospitality agent, he can also be polite and friendly. He is the author of this wonderful book, The Long Walk, My Journey as a Philly Cop. So make sure you check this book out. I think I got mine on Amazon, I believe. He is running for City Councilman of Snellville. His campaign slogan is "Moving Forward Together." Please welcome Mr. Norman Carter.
Thank you for that spectacular introduction. Thank you so much.
Sir. Yes, sir. For a spectacular man. I'm glad you're here. I think this is maybe our third time connecting together, or one of us, you and the other, and it's always enlightening.
Yes.
Very, very much pleasure when you are on the show, sir. And the last thing I forgot to mention is that Mr. Carter is a man of service who likes to expose corruption just as much as I think that's pretty much how we bonded. So welcome.
Yes,
How is
yes.
everything going? How is life on the campaign trail?
Life on the campaign trail is it's interesting. It's not only am I showing people or explaining to people about me, but I'm learning a lot from the people who I'm speaking to. It's been very, very enlightening, and I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying the journey.
Okay, it's just another notch under your belt, if you will, in a very long career. Because I read your resume, and you've been around, sir. You've been around the block a few times.
Yes, indeed.
So I want to go back to the beginning. As I mentioned, you served in the military. Once you got out of the military, you joined the police force in 1967. So how did that
Yeah.
decision come about, and why did you decide to go that route?
Well, that decision to become a police officer was made while I was in the service. There was a lot of civil unrest going on in the United States, and especially as it related to the African American community. And I had an epiphany moment, and I said, perhaps the best way to affect change would become part of what people perceive is the problem, to do what I could do to make the change in any small way that I could. And so that was my thought process. That I think that was decision was made around 1965, 1964, somewhere in there. And once I completed my enlistment in '66, it's about maybe 9 months later that I joined the Philadelphia Police Department. One of the things that I can say I was criticized for throughout my career is that I never lost that commitment to be a truthful servant to the public. And I was that way until I retired.
Excellent, excellent. And so you said with 30 years on the force, um, what was that like? Were you a beat officer? Were you in the office? What kind of things did you do as a police officer?
Oh my goodness. I I was worked in so many different capacities from officer on foot beat, officer in a patrol car. I had 3 years working as a resource officer in school, about 4 years working inside an operations room, 5 years working in the police communications room, and I finished my last 2 years in the narcotics, 2.5 years in the narcotics field unit.
Okay. I'm sure that narcotics field duty was quite interesting.
Well, people would joke at me and said I did my career backwards, because usually the younger officers will get involved in it at the beginning of their career, and I got involved at the end of my career. But that was eye-opening, and that was very, very eye-opening. Glad I had that experience.
Okay. Okay. Now, it also stated in your resume that you started to expose police corruption after about 10 years of being on the police force. Why did you decide to take that stand? Why was it so difficult?
Well, let me say this. I would say that my first incidents I know you mentioned corruption, but with abuse began during my first year.
Okay.
Where I observed a woman, an African American female, driven about 2 miles over cobblestone streets in the trunk of a police car.
Oh, wow.
And I became outraged. In fact, one of my co-workers, African American, a guy by the name of Kenny Patterson, actually grabbed me because I was going after the cop who put this woman in the trunk of his car.
Okay.
And what happened is that he warned me that because I was a rookie cop, that if I went too far with this, that it's very likely that I would be the one where everybody would be talking against, and I would probably lose my job.
Okay.
But I refused to leave that woman until another crew came to take her where she was supposed to be, and treated her properly. So we actually stayed there and watched this woman being processed properly, and
Okay.
watched until she was taken out of that situation. But as far as corruption goes, it was a situation where police officers were actively involved in a burglary ring. And the ones who weren't actively involved actually protected those police officers and protected the leader of this burglary ring. And that went against everything that's within me.
Right.
I've always been anti-corruption from the very beginning of my career. I saw what corruption can do to neighborhoods and to people as I grew up in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So yeah, it was, as I told one of my supervisors who criticized me for taking my stand, that I wasn't trying to change the world, but I wasn't going to let the world change me. And I don't think that they got that, but that allowed me, that was something that I suffered for it during and after my career, but I don't regret it at all. I don't regret taking that stand at all.
And so was it a difficult thing to do, being that you were a rookie when you first started seeing this stuff, and then taking it to the higher ups and then them even criticizing you for trying to do the right thing?
Oh, they tried to fire me. You know, seriously, when I know that for 3 months, they were following me day and night, trying to find something to get me on, so they could get some type of violation to get me on, either on duty or off duty. I was told by someone who whispered to me that my phone was tapped.
Oh,
My
wow.
home phone was tapped. So it was really, that part of it was really a horrendous 2 years.
Yeah, I could imagine.
It affected me. I mean, I had supervisors who would fabricate policy violations and had me go before the disciplinary board. And it wasn't until the final time that they did this, where they really tried to get me fired, that I exposed to the disciplinary board the reasons that they were doing this.
Okay.
And it's a funny thing, because they record these hearings on a reel-to-reel tape. And when I told them that the captain and his subordinates were after me because I exposed corruption in that particular district, they turned off the tape recorder because those tape recordings go to the police commission.
Right.
And they didn't want anything else further said. That basically ended the interview. But sadly, it didn't stop the issue at that moment. I had to go outside of the department to break up that burglary ring, where the leader of that ring went to prison, federal prison, for 5 years.
Okay.
The police officers, most of the police officers escaped from that, but later, a lot of those same police officers went to prison because it got good to them. They felt like they were invincible, and some of them did some serious time in federal prison.
Right. And so I heard you mention some of the retaliation you faced was they tried to get you fired, followed you for 3 months, which just seemed very aggravating. Seems like it'd be very aggravating. They tapped
Yeah.
your phone.
Yeah.
Did you ever receive any death threats?
Um, well, let me tell you about that. Nothing verbal, but when you are given an assignment of a disturbance man with a gun
Hmm.
or a robbery, hold up, point a gun,
Okay.
and you're the only one who responds, and everybody else is silent,
Wow.
um, that's scary. And that happened a lot during those 2 years. And I must add that the harassment that I faced, I thought it was over after those years, and I was transferred for my own safety out of that unit. But after I retired, it began again. And that it was so intense that is the reason that I had to leave Philadelphia and move to Georgia,
Mm.
because there were attempts made to have me arrested under false pretenses. And thank God that it was everything was directed to this rookie police officer. But what happened is that I called several lawyers
Okay.
in order to see if I could get some relief. And the responses that I got from those lawyers let me know that my safety and well-being was in jeopardy.
Yeah, I would
So
think
yeah,
so.
so that propelled me to, with the inspiration of my two oldest children, uh, to move to Georgia and start my life anew.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you were able to remove yourself from that situation before any serious harm or anything else came
Right.
about. Uh,
Yes.
because I know how it is when powerful people are in positions and they're doing corrupt things and somebody's trying to take their corruption and their power from them, how they may react to something
Yes.
like that. I
Absolutely.
won't be friendly, I tell you that much. But I commend you. And like I said, this is one of the things that when I first connected with you, made me connect with you on a level of
Mhm.
like this guy is different. He's cut from a different cloth than
Mhm.
most people. So I commend you for that.
Thank
And
you.
so let's get to the book, The Long Blue Walk: My Journey as a Philly Cop.
Mhm.
Tell people where they can get the book and also why you wrote the
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the book, you can get that through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, uh, online, or you can go to iUniverse,
book. Okay.
the publishing company, iUniverse.com. All those ways you can purchase it. But at Amazon, uh, you can purchase it and you get it. You can get it in a day or two,
Okay.
uh, quickly delivered. Um, I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question?
What made you decide to write the book?
Well, there is the feeling in particularly in the African American community, but throughout society, but in particular in the African American community, that uh, police officers are in this closed society. They all protect each other, and they will never talk against one. Will never talk against the other.
Correct.
And so, uh, and that is true to a great extent. And a lot of it is because of the things that I mentioned before,
Okay.
that peer pressure. And as in my case, you get no protection from the Fraternal Order of Police. They are about protecting the status quo.
Right.
I actually went to them for relief, and they told me that to represent me, there would be a conflict of interest. Think about that.
What?
But yes, but I wrote the book to empower police officers who think as I think, who see the things that I saw, and who feel like they need to speak out. I wanted to empower them, that they can speak out and speak up. But in so doing, I mean, your hands can't be dirty. That's number
Right.
one.
Right.
Because what happens a lot of times, what you hear is cops get caught in bad situations and then they decide to make things better for themselves. They're going to tell on somebody else to make themselves better.
Okay.
That was not my case. I was totally not innocent of any, not guilty of any wrongdoing.
Okay.
And so that's number one. I also wanted the public to be aware that the public needs to support police officers who speak out about corruption and abuses of authority within their ranks. Because what happened to me is I went to NAACP, I went to media people, I went to activists, community activists, and none of them were willing to take on my cause and support me. I was basically left alone. So I think it's one thing that I say near the end of my book is that a healthy police department is a barometer of a healthy community, of how healthy a community may be. If you've got a rotten police department, definitely the community is going to be rotten, because that's where abuse and corruption flourish. So it's important for the public to be participants in the direction that their police departments go, and that that entails setting up meetings. And I had some resolutions toward the end of my book that are cost effective and will help to keep down. You're not going to eliminate corruption. You're not going to eliminate abuse, but you can put a lid on it, and you can set up a mechanism where when people are experiencing corruption and abuse, that there are ways that they can seek redress or seek to end that. And that involves honesty on the part of the police department's leaders, and definitely honesty from people within the community.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I wanted to give the people a little background and history of where you come from. Let's fast forward a little bit to present day. You're currently running for Snellville City Councilman, correct?
That's correct.
And for those who may not be politically affluent in education about politics, what exactly is a city councilman? What are their duties? And I'm one of the ones who don't know, just for.
Okay. Well, city council really sets the tone for policies and certain zoning laws within the Snellville city. We are a panel of 5, and the mayor is the chair of that city council. We're basically all under the direction of the city manager, and but we vote on policies, zoning. People come to us with concern, building permits and things that they want to do in the community. They're all presented to city council first. New businesses coming in, and a whole assortment of things. We're responsible for public safety, for paving of certain highways, setting the millage rate for real estate properties. Although we don't set the assessment, that's done by the county. That's something that people don't realize. But those type of things, and basically governance and protection, public safety. That's really those are really in the forefront. Council.
All right. And so, what kind of lessons did you learn from your 30 years as a police officer that you feel could be beneficial to you as a city councilman?
Well, I like the fact that you started off talking about my book. I will say to you that just about everyone on city council has read my book.
Excellent.
And I am supported by all but one city council member,
Okay.
including the mayor. And a significant part of the reason are those people read my book and saw the type of person that I am.
Okay.
And that was, and it was these people and some citizens who heard me make statements in public, came to me and said, we would like to have you join us on council.
Okay.
It wasn't something that I sought. I in no way I was satisfied with being a host of WCEG. But these, it was funny because there was an incident that happened, and I didn't know anyone, but because of that incident, I came into city council. I met with the city council member, and when I went into that office, these people had already knew about my book. They already knew. They already knew about WCEG. They had watched some of my programs on issues and answers on WCEG, and these were the people who made an assessment that I needed to be part of their team. And we don't always agree on everything. Our backgrounds are different, so I bring something to the table that they may not have experienced because of my life experiences.
Right.
But it's like a good stew. You need a little mixture of everything. You need some carrots, you need some beef, you need a little gravy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And so you said there were people who knew of you that came to you and suggested that you throw your hat into the political race.
Yes.
Was it an easy decision for you to say yes, or was it something you had to mull over? Or
I did have to mull it over. The first person who came to me was not a person on council; it was a citizen, and I basically laughed my way through the conversation. And it was maybe 20 minutes later, a city council person approached me.
okay.
Next, it was another person who was affiliated with the city, who came to me and made the same suggestion. And these people were not communicating with each other.
Right.
All of this happened in one day. And I found that profound. And probably about a month later, I had an opportunity to sit down with the mayor that I thought was just going to be a conversation about general stuff. And after about 15 minutes, I realized that I was being interviewed. So kind of fooled me. But yes, so that's how I was initially reluctant, basically, I am not worthy, but other people had a different idea. A lot of what I'm hearing now is that people appreciate my being outspoken, but having read my autobiography, they feel that I'm a person with integrity and a person who will always stand up for right. So, and that is what I try to do. None of us are perfect. And believe me, I am far from perfect, but I strive to get there. I strive to get there.
All right. You just mentioned integrity, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But I want to ask you about something that the Honorable Valencia Stovall said when you were on her show, I believe, last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
She said that politics is cutthroat and not for the faint of heart. What is your take on that quote? And are you ready?
I will tell you that she is correct. I didn't think that I would run into that, but was about maybe 2 months ago. I made a speech, a presentation at City Council, and someone took that speech because all of our City Council meetings are put online, so anybody can view it at any time. But someone took a clip of that and edited it, and then took that edited clip, and put that on YouTube.
Oh,
and circulated it to anybody who wanted it. That really put me in a bad light. And that's and that's when I knew and it was a poorly edited tape, but definitely done by amateurs. But it let me know the depths that people will go to when they're desperate. And I have kept myself above that fray, above that.
okay.
I try as much as possible to talk about my qualities and my goals and my visions, except at points when I see obvious untruths being said, and there's a knee-jerk reaction in me that wants to get the truth out there. But if I can do that without having to I don't want to be a mudslinger. I don't want to be that type of public servant.
Right.
Sounds better than politician.
But isn't that a big part of politics these days? I mean, every time you hear of whether it's a Senate seat, president, whatever position people are running for, someone's always mudslinging, digging up dirt, and just trying to tear down their opponent. Why is that such a large thing in politics these days?
Well, I think you used the proper word, tear down. If you spending the majority of your time trying to build up, you don't have time to tear down, because that's not your perspective. And that's the type of civic leader that I want to be. I want to focus on building up and not wasting my time on tearing someone down, because people with bad character, if you listen to them long enough, they will tear themselves down. So I just let that happen. But my focus is on building up and on growth, and I really don't have time to spend in that cesspool of it's just terrible. I have better things to do, especially at this point in my life. I got better things to do. As I learned from WCEG, I want to speak life into my community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I have to commend you in WCEG for that. Our producer Penny, was one of the things that attracted me to her, was that she was all about uplifting the community and speaking life. So I'm glad to see that you, as a Black man, as a political candidate, as a human being, carrying that mantle, because there's too much of the other stuff out there. And let me just, while we're on this subject, I was trying to decide if I was going to bring this up or not, but this question goes along with what we're talking about as far as edited clips and mudslinging and all of this stuff. CNN did a poll last month, and the poll basically said, it asked Republicans, do you see Democrats as your enemy? And over 50-something% of the Republicans said, yes, I do see Democrats as my enemy. Same question was asked to the Democrats of the Republican, and it was a little lower. It was 30-something% that said they did see Republicans as their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
How can that be conducive and productive when you have two separate units who are supposed to be acting as one, and they're constantly infighting with each other, and not only infighting, but infighting in some of the worst ways possible. How can we unify and do what's best for the country if you're seeing the person across the aisle from you as your enemy?
Well, I think you see a living example of that going on right now in the United States Congress, where people just, they actually hate each other.
Yeah.
And they're so consumed with that hate, that darkness, that they can't see the light. And that inability to see the light makes them unable to see what's right for the country. And they're so focused on their tiny little perception of what the world should be, that they are ineffective, absolutely ineffective at a time when our country needs to be unified, because there are people right now in the world that are feasting on the fact that our country is so divided. And one of the things that I learned, because our elections here in Snellville are nonpartisan, and
Okay.
I only had one person who said to me, "Are you Democrat or Republican?" we're nonpartisan. But what I've learned is, talking to people who I know are Republicans and
Okay.
people who I know are Democrats, is that basically we all want the same thing. Basically. Now, what happens is the extremists get all the press, they get all the media attention,
Yeah.
and thereby they get all the power. And the people who are actually mainstream, and most of us are in the middle. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. Most of us are in the middle, and it's that middle, that strong middle,
Okay.
that is being victimized. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, just think that in our Congress, you have 8 people that are determining the fate of over 400 Congress people. 8 people.
Okay.
And that's, these people are the people who are getting all the press, they're getting all the media attention. These are for want of a better word, these are the bullies.
Okay.
And you have bullies on both sides. I'm not just saying it's Republicans. You got some on the Democrat side too. But the fact is that these people consume all the oxygen in the room, that they're sucking the life out of this country. And that's sad. And what we have to get back to is to get away from our allegiance to party and reaffirm our allegiance to country, and begin to look at people for their character, for their goals, for what those qualities in them that will make our lives better, as opposed to looking at, well, I only vote Democratic, or I only vote Republican. I've said this many, many times, that when you adopt that philosophy as your lifestyle, you are a lazy thinker, because you make big mistakes. Atlanta, you remember that guy named Campbell that you said, oh yeah, he looks like me, so I'm gonna put him in office? And there are a couple of other people who came after him. Oh yeah, they look like me, I put them in office, they're Democratic. Well, what did they do for your community?
Right.
How did they make your community better? We need more Maynard Jacksons, and there's some out there. We need those type of leaders with insight and foresight, who are willing to make the communities better. We can't get stuck on friends, get stuck on party, I mean, there's so many things because it affects the quality of life. So yes, the secret is that these people who are stuck on their political affiliations and right or left, these extremists, if that's where your people are stuck, you're going to be stuck right where we are right now in Congress, which is an unproductive Congress. And keep in mind, the Speaker of the House is third in line for the presidency. So,
Okay.
so do you really want a goofball extremist as the next person in line? Really? I mean, the guy now who's trying to become speaker, I mean, he hid sexual assaults from an Ohio university on male football players. That's who they want as Speaker of the House. This other guy, Scalise, he was a devotee of David Duke. Come on, folks, like wake up. Wake up. And you know, and these people have big followings, and that's the danger, is not just those people themselves, but the people who follow them. Wow, did I get way off track here?
That's
but anyway.
okay. That's okay. I was about to bring it back. I was about to bring it back. You running for city council, because we could talk about that other stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So why do you believe you are the right candidate for this job? And what are your primary focuses that you want to achieve as a candidate? Like, what do you seriously want to accomplish for the city of Snellville?
Well, I believe I'm the right candidate for this job just because of my life experience.
Okay.
I have multicultural, multi-economic level experiences. I have probably over 20 years in leadership positions where I had to make big decisions as far as budgets, personnel, staffing, and and even in the military, I was in a leadership position. Okay. So I bring that to the table. None of my competitors have that experience. None of my competitors have actual service to the community.
Okay.
None of them. None of them have been on boards. I have served on 3 local boards and I'm still on 1 county board.
Okay.
Also on Rain Dance Films on their board.
Okay.
But none of my competitors have that experience. And that type of experience gets you involved in the inner workings of government. Not only that, but it gets you involved in interacting with a wide variety of people in the community. Okay. And that is what I bring to the table. And also the fact that I think I'm a good listener. Okay. Some people are good talkers. I like listening.
Yeah, so do
I like listening because if you can listen, you can learn. Yes. And we're never too old or too experienced not to learn something new. And these are the things, and even now, I've made it a point to speak with different department heads in different parts of the of Snellville government. Okay. to find out the challenges that they face, to find out some of the history of Snellville, find out things that they would like to see done for the future of Snellville, and also tapping into their experience into how they got things done. And I think that allows me to have a step up on my competitors, because my competitors have not done that. And I can say that factually. Gotcha. That's not where their focus is. Their focus is just to get elected, and then they're going to try to feel their way around. And that's not a way you can That's not a good formula for being a leader in the community.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good formula for any job to wait till you get in office and start feeling your way around trying to
Right,
work your way.
right, right. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so I heard you mention on one of the other shows you were on about the 2045 plan for Snellville. What exactly
Yes.
is?
Wow. That is actually in progress because the city is the 2045 committee.
Okay.
They're seeking public input because there was, I believe I'm correct, was like a 2000 plan. And that plan was put in place. And as a result of that, a lot of those things that were planned back in the year 2000, 2010 are coming to fruition now. So
Okay.
what it's that 2045 plan is to get community input to find out where the city wants to go, where the citizens want to take the city, what improvements, what services do you want, how can we enhance, different things. So it's very important to have the seek community input because eventually, as these plans, once they become put in place, then the next step is to make sure that we have funding that is focused on those needs or desires that the community would like to see in Snellville.
Okay.
So it's very, very important. It's a very, very thorough plan, and the people on that board come from a wide variety of backgrounds, but they are all focused on making Snellville better.
And it's the plan is all about what the politicians and the people what they want to see for Snellville by the year 2045.
Well, it's basically to see what the citizens want.
Okay.
Yes, you have government leaders who may be and committee chairs who are there to basically keep everything in order.
Okay.
But the whole impetus is to get public input because you don't want to bring in businesses or to build subdivisions or other things that people don't want.
Right.
That's not productive. So, so that's very, very important. And there's still hearings and meetings going on about that and stuff.
Okay. And so this is a municipal election, correct?
That's correct.
Why do votes in municipal elections matter?
Well, someone said a long time ago that all elections are local elections, or the most important elections are local elections.
Okay.
Your locality, your municipality really is more in touch with you than your county, state, or federal government. These are your hands-on people.
Right.
Your municipal leaders are the ones that you can go to if you don't go any other place. You can go to twice a month city council meetings. Your phone numbers and addresses, address, and email addresses are public record, and you can be called up by anyone at any time to respond to a need or concern. And the expectation is that the citizens will get an immediate response.
Okay.
From which you will not get sometimes from county and state and federal leaders.
Okay. And
So we're,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so, we're right down where the rubber hits the road. Those are your municipal leaders. We're right there for you. And if we can't resolve your problem, it's our duty to send you directly to where someone can solve your problem, and make sure that your problem gets solved and not just push you off somewhere and leave you hanging, so to speak.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, when I heard you talking to the Honorable Valencia Stovall, I heard you all mention about telling the voters to make sure that their names are on the roll, that make sure their names haven't been purged from the roll.
Right.
Why is
Right.
that something that voters should be concerned about?
Yes, because what happens is ever so often for whatever criteria they set up, the rolls may get purged. A lot of times it's because people haven't voted for an extended period of time, or people may have moved from one location to another. And so, gosh, I wish I had the website now, but if you go to georgia.gov and you look up voter registration, you can actually check that yourself to make sure that you're on. Put your information in.
So you're saying that whoever's in charge of these polls or whatever,
Secretary of State.
whoever's in charge, so they can remove your name and not advise you that your name is being removed?
Well,
Like I would think
supposedly you should get something in the mail that said our record shows something. But in the end, it's really the responsibility falls on the citizen. I see we have a www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. I hope we can print that for.
Okay, and that's where that's where they would go to make sure their name is on the
correct. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And that just entails, I think, putting in your last name and first name, and maybe your date of birth.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that was a huge thing when there was a certain Secretary of State running for governor, and he didn't recuse himself from being a Secretary of State. So that was the whole big issue. But anyway, I don't know we can bring that up.
Yeah. But that's important. That's important.
It is important. And I just thought that was weird back then, and just to still hear it's a thing, it's disheartening to me.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that, not making this a racial thing, but that African Americans are attuned to because of so many years of being denied the right to vote,
right,
and having to jump through hoops, sometimes through ropes, to be able to vote. And people have died for us to have this right to vote, and that's why we cannot take it for granted, and we cannot let ourselves be bound by voter apathy. We all, not just because I'm running, but I've always believed that people across the world wish they had the voting rights that we have here in the United States, and we do. Basically, collectively as a nation, we take that for granted. But yeah, voting is important. Check your voter rolls to make sure that you're eligible.
Well, let's explore this voter apathy for 1 second. What exactly is your definition of voter apathy? Before I go into the next question.
Well, I think that a lot of times people believe that, quote, my vote doesn't matter. And if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't have been killing people, trying to prevent people to vote, because votes matter. Votes are counted. There have been elections, even here. Our mayor here in Snellville won by 7 votes. So that was 7 people who decided, you know what? I'm going to make sure I go vote today. That could have been 7 people who said, I'm not going to bother. Things would have been different. So votes do matter. It's very important. And, this is why we say today, everybody needs to make a plan. Years ago, you could only vote on one day. Now you can vote. We have early voting. So, and on voting on Saturday. So there's really little or no excuse for not voting.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna give you a little pushback on that.
Okay.
And it's gonna lead into this next question that I have. So I've never been of the political mindset. I'm not very political savvy. I have to admit that. But I've always voted. When I started voting, my mother told me to vote Democrat, right? And I'm sure a lot of us may have received that message. And that takes me back to, I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson who said, I have a plan that will have Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And, once you go back and learn that history and look through the history, I have studied the history of this country and of this government. And so let me get into the question. So last week I was at my aunt and niece's house, and there were three of us involved in this conversation. I let them know I was having a gentleman who was running for political office on my show this week. And these are the reactions that I got as soon as I said political office. My aunt, who's in her 80s, she said, "Oh, they all just so corrupt. They so corrupt. I can't stand it." She was really in her feelings about it. But she did say that she still does vote, no matter how much corruption she sees. And I believe she's a Democrat. So then my cousin, her daughter, Jennifer, hey, Aunt and niece, hey, Jennifer. Jennifer is 50. She's never voted. And she said she's never voted because of all the political corruption and everybody's just crooked at the letter S. And so there's no point in voting. And so then comes me. I'm the third person out of this group who, like I said, I've always voted. And I voted because people have died for me to have the right to vote. That was my whole rationale behind it. Until a couple of years ago, I was having a debate on voting with this young lady. And I hit her with that line, I vote because people died for me to have the right to vote. She said, I said, my ancestors died. So she responded with, so did your ancestors die for you to continue to vote for the children of the oppressors who have been oppressing you pretty much your entire life? And that really sat with me, on top of me studying the history of this country, this government, and me just trying to do the right thing by staying active in this political process. But it seems to me, the more I learn about the political process, the less I wish I knew, because it's just so much filth and mudslinging and corruption and all of this stuff. And so for me, I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking about 2024 being the first year that I don't vote, because I'm so fed up with the whole system, and I'm definitely a political pessimist. There are two politicians that I trust. That's the Honorable Valencia Stovall, and that is Norman. Okay, so outside of that, and the only reason I trust them too is because I know them and I've seen their work. I've talked to you, I've seen your work, I've looked through your book. I've seen the Honorable Valencia Stovall out in the Black community, the white community, the Spanish community. She just be out, okay? And I 10-minute pop in photo op, like she's there, she's shaking hands, kissing babies, and connecting with the people. So for me, that spoke volumes about her character to me. And so for people like my aunt, my cousin, and myself, who I just mentioned, who are disheartened with the political system, and one doesn't vote, one is considering not voting, and the other one just votes the way she's voted forever just because, what would you say to us and a large group of people who are disheartened with the political system about why we should be voting?
Well, I go back to, and it's very important, that we need to look at people, number one, for integrity, but look at their record of service. What have they done to better the lives of people in their community.
Okay.
What have they done? Not vote for them because of their political connections. Not vote for them because they got pretty faces. No, you need to listen, you need to pay attention, and then you need to test them. And you test by attending these campaign events and listening, and then asking the tough questions. Everybody is not corrupt. It's the same thing that I ran into as a police officer. All cops are corrupt. They all stick together. Well, no, not true. There's some of us who we're not actively trying to break any type of mold, but we have character. We have ideals that we believe that we need to live up to. And sometimes that makes us unpopular. But you need to have a discerning eye and seek these type of people out. And unfortunately, as I said before, it's these people who are outshined, for want of a better word, by the people with the loud voices and the people with the political connections, the people with money. You want to, I heard people vote for somebody. Well, he's a millionaire. It must be a good guy. No, not necessarily so. Where you likely have a guy who might be making $25,000 a year, that might be the best leader that you could elect for your community or for your state, but you ignore him for the wrong reason.
Right.
And we need to stop doing that. We need to stop doing that. And again, listen to people. There are people in your community who don't have financial backgrounds, but who have great ideas and great leadership. And you need to push those people and promote them and support them. And that's how we get rid of the corruption. That's how we get rid of voter apathy. That's how we bring leaders that we can all be proud of.
Well, most people think that, we speak for the African-American community, a lot of people in the African-American community think that most politicians just pander to our community to get votes. And then once they get votes, they ghost us, they disappear. And then all we're left with is empty promises and broken words.
Yeah.
So that leads a lot to this voter apathy that you keep mentioning.
Yeah.
It leads a lot to not wanting to participate in this crooked system.
That brings to mind, I don't want to mention his name, but one very popular African-American government representative, very, very popular.
Okay.
And I wrote him a letter to express my concerns about something. I also wrote the letter to another senator, same concerns. Well, the African-American person never responded.
Okay.
The other person did.
Okay.
So maybe it's too busy. I don't know. But if one person could find the time, and this was a concern about the treatment of African Americans.
Okay.
And by police, and ways to resolve those issues. And for an African American just not to respond at all.
Yeah.
And these are the things that people complain about, that, you get in office, but I don't get any response back. You're telling me you're going to give me this and give me that. And then when I get there, it's all about you. So for people like me, it's never all about me. I am happy in my life. My life, if I never get elected, I'm still going to be a happy individual. I still will be doing the best I can to serve my community in whatever way that I can.
Yeah.
The being in an elective office allows me to do more things, gives me more leverage to get those things done that I think, and the people whom I support think, can get the things that we need to make our communities better. Being elected to this office just gives me a little bit more leverage than I would have as an average citizen.
Got you. Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time today coming on Conversations in Education on WCEG Network. Let me hit you with this old proverb. Um, it says, "The forests were shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was wood, that he was one of them, and they keep voting for the killer."
Mm, 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 mm,
that,
mm.
that, that speaks to me very loudly about the political state of this country.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah,
absolutely.
but I do appreciate you for coming on today. Before I let you go, I want to ask you this one last thing, and that is, how can people connect with you if they want to make donations or to volunteer for your campaign?
Yes, I have a website. My website is www.norman4snellville.com, or you can reach out to me by email at Norman Carter Jr. 372 at gmail.com. A lot of people are reaching out to me on that.
Okay.
Norman Carter Jr. 372 at gmail.com.
Okay. And the website was www.norman, the number four, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Snellville.com. Norman, the number four, Snellville.com.
That's it.
You can make donations, you can volunteer, you can reach him on email at Norman Carter Jr. 372 at gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Early voting started yesterday, right? October
Yes.
16th, and it goes through
Yes.
November 3rd. And
Mhm.
election day is Tuesday, November 7th.
Yes.
So again, thank you, Mr. Norman Carter, for joining us today on
Thank
Conversation.
you for having me.
I wish you the best on the campaign trail. I'm not going to endorse too many politicians, but you have my I promise you.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
need more people of integrity and politicians like you and Honorable Valencia Stovall.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
And before I go, I can't get out of here without doing my Scholar of the Week. Week. My scholar this week goes to St. Louis native Sidney Keys III. In elementary school, he loved reading, but rarely saw himself represented in books. His mother took him to a local Black-owned bookstore one day, and that seemingly simple dose of representation didn't just make him feel seen, it motivated him. It motivated him at 10 years old to launch a book club for boys in his community to encourage a love of reading and sense of belonging. His books his Books and Bros subscription service includes a featured book of the month, reading prompts, curriculum curated by Sydney's mom, Winnie Elizabeth Thompson. They've served over 770 boys in total internationally. The boys received monthly boxes after the pandemic was over. The meeting shifted to virtual. She also explains that Books and Bros has donated more than 1,000 books to youth-focused organizations supporting underserved communities. So shout out to you, sir, Mr. Sidney Keys III of St. Louis, for encouraging the love of reading. What else do you need?
The
Encouraging.
child shall leave them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with that, we're gonna be gone. I thank you, Mr. Norman Carter. Good luck again.
Thank you.
On the campaign trail. Thank you to all the listeners who tune in to WCEG Network and Conversations in Education every month. We appreciate your listenership. And with that, have a great day. Be blessed. Peace.